Well, as you can see, Dr. Adetokunbo Pearse joins us this morning. He is a member of the PDP National Presidential Campaign Council. He's also Lagos State Coordinator at Ikokowa Presidential Campaign Support Group. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Well, you clearly listened to that response by the Secretary, National Secretary of the APC about, that conversation that started with Pastor Bakari's comment. But one of the main things that I can't take my eyes away from in that address is when he said, given the complexity of the Nigerian economy, Mr. President, we are not thoroughly convinced that your palliatives will be sufficient to cushion the effect of your policies on the Nigerian citizen. Do you agree with him?
Oh, totally. Palliatives, by definition, are two definitions that are checked in the Webster Oxford Dictionary. One is treatment without a cure. The second one is providing excuse. That is what it means, kind of making it easy, take it easy. It doesn't solve anything. In fact, it's an insult on the intelligence of Nigerians. So you're providing palliatives as if we're a village, that you call them to the village square, give them a pack of lunch box, and that's it. The palliative that the president suggested came to about 8,000 naira per person. And that's for 12 million people, I believe.
Which we understand is being reviewed.
Pardon?
Which we understand is being reviewed.
Yes, but 12 million people, a population of 200 million people, you can see that it doesn't go far, even in the numbers, the quantity. And the quality is even worse. 8,000, for how long? For how many people? So it's not a solution at all.
But then, it's a consequence of the fuel subsidy removal, which even your own candidate said he would have removed. And there is no way the palliatives, the fuel subsidy will be removed without an instant biting effect. So what do you think should have been done?
If Atiku Abubakar had won the election and insists on removing palliatives, he will not do it the way it was done, with in a cavalier manner, in a rush manner, without planning, without discussion. This is what happens when you don't negotiate, you don't plan, you don't interrogate people and so on. You just announce, and that's why we have the problem we have. So now he's running after trying to make amends for the mistake he made. Atiku would not have done it this way. He would have said on the day of his inauguration that this issue of subsidy has to be reviewed, and we are going to look into it in a way that will make it acceptable and not too uncomfortable for the people.
Isn't that what has been said since 1999?
Well,
that subsidy is a regime that needs to end, and everyone over the years has said, look, we need to do it. The question has always been that of the best time to do it. And
they have been removing subsidy gradually.
You think so?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Buhari removed subsidy. That's why the price of petrol went up. So every time the price of petrol goes up, it's because the subsidy is being reduced. So it had to be done gradually. And look, this issue of fuel subsidy removal, we've explained it. Many people have said so many things about it. It's a scam. Look, subsidy has to be implemented in various aspects of society: health, education, housing. This is what happens in a civilized society. So as we move along to become civilized, to become advanced, this is what we must look into. Subsidy, if you remove oil subsidy, is the worst thing you can do to your economy, because oil, petrol, is what fuels the economy. It affects every aspect of it, because the economy, the definition of economy is the process of production and distribution.
I'm a little confused.
How do you distribute?
Yeah. I'm a little confused with what you just said.
Yes.
So on the one hand, you said the subsidy regime is a scam. and now you are saying, it exists. Do you believe that the subsidy exists?
Well, now that when it existed, it was not subsidy. It was not the subsidy that affected. It didn't affect the people. It was the people who were receiving the subsidy that I'm calling a scam, because they were receiving monies, and it was not. They were mismanaging the funds they took. So that is not a problem of the people. But what has happened now with the removal of the subsidy is that people are suffering.
That's the point. I mean, will the subsidy is it possible to remove that subsidy in a way that the people will not be directly affected? Seeing that the excuse was that we're putting this subsidy in so that the people do not suffer too much. And as you said, some people are benefiting from it directly.
If you remove subsidy, the way it has been done, what we are getting now is what we get. Costs of petrol that will make it impossible for the economy to grow. It will just shrink the economy, and we will get into a recession, because the economy is process of production and distribution. And you cannot produce if you cannot get to the point where you're going to produce. And if you produce and you cannot distribute, then you have a problem. How do you distribute if you cannot move? How do you even produce if you cannot get to the point of where you are going to go and produce? That is the problem.
I find this quite interesting about democracy. And I mean, some people can talk about democracy all they want, but it presents everyone the opportunity, when it is practiced the right way, everyone with the opportunity to come on board with ideas. Let ideas battle. Sure. I mean, the majority will have their day, but the minority at least will have this say. And I just wonder, really, because you would expect that the president has much more information than the average Nigerian about the state of Nigeria's economy, how much is coming in, how much we're able to make, the projections and the rest. Ideally, the president should have that on his table. In fact, it should be on his wall, something he wakes up to every day, so at least he knows the issues that need to be tackled. But then you also have Nigerians coming up with alternative, propositions, or prepositions rather, that this is how it should be done. You didn't do it right, and you'd expect it, because now the average Nigerian's purchasing power, disposable income, has literally shrunk. But guess what? They say it will get even worse. So we need to, as much as possible, salvage the situation. So first, let me get you correctly. Are you saying that we should go back to the subsidy regime?
We should go back to reviewing what is happening in NNPCL. This whole issue has to do with corruption in that industry. Unless the president goes there, we will not really get the benefit of the oil that is produced in this country. This is the point. This is all it's about. It has nothing to do. You know, when people say subsidy, it's like something out of the blues. It is nothing. The question of the price of oil is what we're talking about. How do we get the price of oil to the point where it is affordable and we not destroy the economy? That is the issue. How do we do that? Go to NNPCL, Mr. President.
You haven't answered that question.
Find out what is going on there.
Do you think we should go back to the subsidy regime and then come to this agenda you're talking about?
No. You cannot be going back and forth. We need to solve this problem. And the only way you solve the problem, and the problem is this: the cost of pump oil is too expensive for our economy. Now, how do you bring the price of oil to the point where it is affordable? What do? Go to NNPCL and find out the wastage, the inefficiency, the corruption there. If you curb that, you will not have this problem. It will be reduced. Democracy is a job in progress. It's never complete. And you're right. The president doesn't know everything. I, frankly, have been very disappointed in Tinubu, very disappointed. I thought he understood economics. Now I realize he's just a bookkeeper.
How do you mean bookkeeper?
Because bookkeeper is an accountant. He's an accountant. He collects money, accounts for it, but to develop business, to develop the economy, takes a business mind. somebody who has run industry before, employers, employees, understand the give and take in business. Evidently, he doesn't know it, and he's not listening to advice, because what is going on now is a disaster.
So when you say
it's a disaster.
When you say that we should go back to the NNPC, how does going back to the NNPC affect the landing costs, of imported fuel and all other things that affect the oil price?
Part of that is what you find out when you go to NNPCL. You find that the landing cost is so low. The price that I've been giving, I have a brother who has been in the oil industry for about 30 years. And he told me, he said the landing cost is, at one point it was 50 naira per liter.
How many years ago is that?
Many years ago. Now it's about 150 per liter. Now they're saying that every specialist you talk to will tell you that the landing cost is less than 150 naira per liter.
Even now, today.
Today.
Where did you get that information from?
Listen, I just told you what I know.
Right.
And the way to solve a problem is go to the source. Let the president go and interrogate an NPCL, and then let us find out, announce to the country what the landing cost is, so that we know exactly what we can make, how much we can sell oil that will not cripple the economy. That's what we need to do.
Well, I know a lot of people will definitely come out with their own side of the story, government and people that practice in that area. But from what we know, and I mean, I'm glad you say you have someone there, you're not a practitioner, but what we know, of course, that a major factor in deciding the price of not just crude, but petrol is the value of the dollar. Crude is priced in dollars naturally. We do not refine petrol in the country. So I find it quite interesting that you say NNPCL should be the one to at least sit up to ensure this is fixed. For Labour says, well, fix our refineries. Let us ensure that whatever it is we get out of our ground is refined here in Nigeria, so we don't take it out first, then bring it in, and then you have that extra cost. So aren't you proposing that as well? Don't you think that will naturally...
That's part of the issue. We have to do that also. All of it has to do, NNPCL is the department of the economy that handles the issue of oil. So the whole issue of, look, how many years have we been talking about refineries? It is so unbelievable that we don't know have refineries to refine our oil. By the way, one of the reasons why I say you got to go to NNPCL is this. Kyari said on this channel that even with the production of even when Dangote oil comes fully on board, that the price of pump fuel will not reduce. Even with the production of oil in Port Harcourt and elsewhere, the pump price will not reduce. That man needs to be investigated. So this is what we're saying, that there's so many things you have to do. Of course, if you refine your oil here, the man is already telling us that even when it's refined here, it's still not going to go down. And you are saying, you and I know that if we have our own refineries and we are refining the product here, the price should be more competitive.
Well, it's quite tricky. Even as at early this year, the landing cost, even late last year, the landing cost of petrol was said to be at 500 naira. That was the NNPCL as at last year, and this was reported early this year. I mean, it was within that region. So one can only imagine what it is right now, according to the figures that we have.
NNPC is falsifying information.
Oh, those are very huge allegations. And do you have proof?
Yes. NNPC. What about when Kyari says, even when Dangote oil is in full move, we're not going to have a reduction in price of oil? Doesn't that sound strange to you?
Well, I mean, he has the information, so I think you should present
You know, when you say he has information,
no, if you say
you
it is...
also said the president should know.
Doctor, if you say that
all of
NNPC,
us are bringing our ideas forward. I believe that NNPC, from what I have seen so far, with the performance of NNPC and the utterances of the chairman, I don't believe anything that's coming from there.
So your belief
Especially
is different
people who have
from
been in the
fact.
industry.
Doctor, pardon me. Let me just
will
put
tell
this in.
you
Your
that's a lie.
belief is different from fact. I could believe that what you're saying is not true, but I need to have counterfact. So if you say that the NNPCL has been falsifying information, it's one thing to believe it. It's another thing to authoritatively say it. So do you have counterfact to that effect?
I believe people in the industry, marketers in the industry, people who have been working in Shell, in Cornell, so many companies for 30 years, telling me that this is what the cost of landing is. There have been many, many videos. Many people have said exactly what I'm saying now.
Okay, so what you have essentially secondary information, not facts at hand.
No, but what is fact? Am I working in NNPCL?
No, you said that authoritatively.
What do you mean by
that
fact?
the NNPCL is falsifying
That's
information.
That's what I'm saying, because
but you don't have facts to present to us.
This is what I have read. This is what I have seen. This is my analysis of the situation based on what I have researched, what I have seen, what I have heard from so many people who are specialists, who have experience in the industry.
Okay. My colleague in Abuja wants to come into the conversation. Go ahead, Chamberlain.
Dr. Pearse, good morning. So could you tell us, what do you make of the government's plan to streamline taxes? Because, I mean, during the campaign, they had said that I think almost all the candidates mentioned a thing or two about taxes. But now, there are plans to streamline them to ensure that multiple taxation becomes history. They have a committee in place who have different timelines of what they want to achieve at all of those times. What's your impression of that?
To streamline taxes. Look, there are different taxes. There's the state tax, there's the federal tax. So I don't understand what they mean by streamlining taxes. You know, I really don't know. Look, all we need is efficiency and honesty in governance. There has been a lot of shortage in that area, and that is where the problem is. Whether you streamline the tax or you don't streamline the tax. By the way, I know that the president set up a task force on tax reform. Guess what? Who are you going to tax when the 30% of your people are unemployed, and another 50% of the people make less than 100,000 naira a year? Who are you going to tax? Where is the money going to come from? Also, industries are leaving Nigeria by the day because of high cost of production. So industries can be taxed, individuals can be taxed, or rather the tax you're getting from both sides will be so low that the economy will not make any significant progress.
What would you recommend then? Because I think they're trying to get recommendations and ensure that the right things are done. So what will your thoughts be such that if it's not done, then tomorrow people can say, look, there are very lofty ideas, but they were never implemented. So go ahead and tell us.
This economy has to be interrogated in a serious manner. One, corruption in the oil industry. You know, everybody is now talking about the French taking Niger's uranium, you know, basically for free. The French, the Canadians, the Americans, everybody is taking Nigerian oil virtually for free. This is what is going on. So you must stop the leakage in that area, and then you must do more. In the short term, the economy can be revived to a great extent if the president goes after all the agencies collecting revenue for the government that are supposed to be transferring the money to the federation account and are not doing it. FIRS, Ports Authority, so many of them, they are not doing it. It's all on record. I saw some document that Falana produced recently. It is unbelievable. Trillions of naira owe the federal government. That is one. Then, I told you before, there is ground rent for 20,000 houses built by the federal government. They are not collecting the tax. That runs into 6 trillion naira. in the short run. In the long run, we must diversify the economy. We cannot continue to depend only on oil. The oil, we need to do more with oil by having our own refineries and so on. Then we need to, of course, no matter how many refineries you have, no matter how much oil you produce, if you don't police it properly and make people accountable that they don't continue to steal the oil, we're going to be where we are now. But let us say we produce our own oil. That is one way. But we also must do more than oil. We have lithium in this country. In Kaduna, in Kwara State, we have bauxite. We have bitumen. Ondo State axis, the third largest deposit of bitumen in the world. Enugu axis, the ninth largest deposit of natural gas in the world. So we must develop these minerals. And by doing so, one way to do that for sure is to allow the states to have access to their minerals and develop it, just like they have in the United States of America. Every state has something that they use that's indigenous to their states. Use it to develop the economy, pay tax to the federal government, and by doing so, instead of having one source of revenue, we have like 15 sources of revenue coming into the federal government. There is money in this country. Everybody knows that. Everybody in the world knows that this is a very rich country. Our problem is the course of leadership.
So, Mr. Pearse, once again, good morning. I just want to know, because some of the plans which you are also, enumerating, we've seen most of those plans said over and over and over again, almost on a 4-cycle year basis. You find leaders speak about it when they talk about restructuring. Yes. So for you, for anyone who is very serious about restructuring the country, how long would you give them to do it if they get a chance in office?
If a person is serious about restructuring, this is the main reason why I was working with Atiku Abubakar. His plan was, day one, you must go to the National Assembly and ask for the Constitution to be reviewed in a way to allow all these minerals to be removed from the exclusive list, so that it becomes on the concurrent list and they can begin to work on it. If any president wants to improve the economy of this country, he must diversify, he must devolve power to the states. Restructuring is not negotiable for development of the country. Imagine if everybody in America, all these 50-something states, all go to Washington with cap in hand every month to collect revenue. Well, man, what are we doing? I think what you started off with today is very interesting. You would assume that the president would know, but usually, if you watch people when they are campaigning, they really don't say what they're not going to do. Tinubu never said he's going to do anything. He only said it is my turn. We were campaigning. We said restructuring, that is key. If you have a president who's serious about restructuring, then we are going to see an improvement in our economy. So you don't think that every state will improve.
You don't think that the document that his campaign released, the Renewed Hope agenda, you don't think it is something?
Pardon?
You don't think, when you said he didn't say he was going to do anything, well, how about the campaign, the document that they produced, the Renewed Hope document they produced? You don't think it's anything?
Look, the president, the individual man or woman who is in charge must be held accountable. You read their lips, you know where they're going. Forget about documents. Everybody produced documents. They have their manifesto. But what about Buhari? Didn't they have an APC manifesto that they're going to do restructuring? But Buhari said before the election, 2015, he said he didn't want to hear anything about restructuring. He said it. And that's when I knew that he's not going to pursue it.
Okay.
But, well,
Tinubu never said he's going to pursue it.
To be fair, I mean...
So I don't expect him to pursue it. But if he doesn't pursue it, right, I tell you this administration will not last.
Just quickly, to be fair, the president during campaigns had made those. In fact, Subsidy was one of them. And I think there are videos upon videos showing where he said Subsidy must go. He's made several promises. But yes, promises will be made naturally. Maybe because you were busy with campaigning with the PDP, of course, you will not be watching the APC's campaign. But those promises,
yeah, of course I watch the campaign. We all watch each other's campaign.
So those promises naturally is what we expect to be fulfilled.
He talked about removing subsidy, but nobody knew he would do it this way.
Right. So quickly speak to this point. So within your party, of course, there have been several issues, and it looks like maybe the PDP has been moving. I just want, by way of updates, you tell us what's going on within the PDP now that former Governor Wike has gotten an appointment. Is all well and good now? Can the PDP finally move on from the crisis we saw in the past? Quickly.
Well, the acting national chairman has said that we must basically go back to the drawing board, let bygones be bygone. If Wike is in APC, we assume it is under the umbrella of Government of National Unity.
But he said he will never join the APC.
If he's in if he's in government, if he's got the ministerial position, it is under the umbrella of the National Unity Government. Therefore, it's all well and good. All we want is for people to serve this country honestly and diligently, and help the country to make progress.
So you think it's a good thing?
So it's look, all that's important is for people to be fully committed to helping this country develop. So the party is not fighting him because of that. He is not fighting the party. The fight is over after the election, and let us see what comes out of the tribunal. We'll take it from there. But right now, PDP is settled, and we are beginning to grow again, and we're working on it, and we are going to make progress.
Thank you so much for your time this morning. Dr. Adetokunbo Pearse is a member, PDP National Presidential Campaign Council. He's also Lagos State Coordinator at Ikokoa Presidential Campaign Support Group. Thank you again for your time.
Thanks so much for having me.
We're back right after now. Do stay with us.